Thanks for tuning in to No Wine in No Time. I'm your host Dave, and today we're going to talk about a black skin red wine grape by the name of Bobal. So Bobal is native to an area inside of Valencia, Spain called utiel-requena. And when we look at Valencia as a whole, Valencia is a Mediterranean wine growing region, but utiel-requena is a little bit further inland. And Bobal is perfectly suited for this particular climate. When we look at Bobal and utiel-requena, 80% of all the wine vines planted in that area are Bobal. So that tells you the suitability for that area. But Bobal, as we move around Spain, is actually the third most widely planted grape in all of Spain. What? You've never heard of Bobal? Well, don't be surprised. A lot of that is consumed within the European continent, and very few of it gets over to North America or other parts of the world. So we look at the lineage of Bobal and where it got its name from. It was first documented in the 1400s, where it got its name from the Latin word boval, B-O-V-A-L-E, and boval actually means a steer's head, and it actually refers to how when the grapevines grow and the grapes on themselves mature, those clusters actually look like a bull's head or a steer's head. So boval and Bobal, they eventually evolved into that name. Now, when we look at this type of a grapevine, it has very vigorous vines, so we have to manage that in the vineyard. In other words, do some canopy management, do some dry harvesting, try to pull the yield back so that the quality gets higher. It also thrives at a little bit higher elevations. And when we look at how it's planted throughout utiel-requena in Valencia, mostly it's bush vines. It does its best when it's cultivated as a bush vine. So Bobal is a very interesting grape, and it produces a very mass-appealing type of wine. And what I mean by that, when we look at the thick skins of Bobal, they're full of a lot of color, so we get a lot of color in the wine. It also casts off a lot of beautiful fruity flavors, but the tannins themselves are pulled back a little bit, so we don't have an overly tannic wine. So once again, it pulls in a much greater appeal. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you a little bit about what you can expect if you go into your wine store and you seek out a Bobal. So the one I picked for you today, once again, is from utiel-requena, and this comes to us from the winemaker named Caprecia. So let's take a look at it in the glass. So when we look at this Bobal, the first thing we see is we cannot see through it. It is opaque. But it is kind of purplish around the edges. It's not very deep and dark, but just a little bit purple. If we swirl to liberate the aromas, the first thing that comes out of the glass is a little bit of smoke with a little bit of kind of licorice, coffee, and some very dark fruits like plum and blackberry. Let's go ahead and give it a sip. When this Bobal rolls across the palate, we're greeted with that dark fruit flavor of blackberry, but it very quickly on the sides of the palate kind of fades almost into pomegranate or cranberry, and then it reasserts itself as kind of raspberry. And all the way through there, I get kind of a black licorice or anise stripe and just a little bit of, let's say, dark chocolate. You might say, wow, that's an incredible amount of things to describe in a wine, and you would be correct. This is extremely complex, and from front to back and left to right on the palate, it's throwing flavor receptors all over the place, which is great. So let's think about what we would want to pair this type of wine with. So Bobal's interesting. It does have a high resveratrol content, so it's very heart healthy. It's a very good wine to drink in moderation. I enjoy it, honestly, just with a slight chill. Let's say we put it in the refrigerator we take it out 45 minutes before we're ready to serve it. So it just drops it down, let's say in the mid 50s. I think it's perfect in that type of scenario. But if we are going to pair it with food, I like to pair it with lighter meats, but with savory type of sauces. So let's think chicken. Let's think orange chicken or teriyaki chicken. So something with a lot of kind of sweet flavors going on in the sauces, but yet lighter meat. So I'm going to get back and enjoy a little bit more of this Bobal, and I ask that you tune in next time, because soon you'll know wine in no time.